Okay, let's talk about a piece of car tech you probably use every single day, but maybe don't give a second thought to. Your headlights. But what if I told you they aren't just simple bulbs anymore? We're diving into headlights that can actually see, think, and react faster than you can blink. This is going to be fun.
So let's kick things off with a really basic question. Why is driving at night so much more dangerous? I mean, think about it. There are way fewer cars on the road, right? And yet the risk of getting into an accident just skyrockets. So what's the deal? Well, the statistics are pretty shocking. A full 50%, half of all traffic accidents happen when it's dark, at dusk, or at dawn. That is a massive, disproportionate number. And it really all boils down to one simple, crucial factor: visibility, or a lack of it. It's a problem that engineers have been trying to solve for a very, very long time.
And that brings us perfectly to our first section, seeing in the dark. Because the solution, it turns out, isn't just about making headlights brighter. It's about making them a whole lot smarter. And that solution has a name: adaptive headlights. So what exactly are adaptive headlights? Well, at their core, they're an intelligent system that's constantly scanning the road, using a whole bunch of data and reacting in real time. You gotta think of them less like a simple light switch and more like a dynamic thinking system that's always working to give you the absolute best view of the road ahead. And this is where you really see the huge leap in technology. Your traditional headlights, they're static. They just point straight ahead, period. So when you're going into a curve, you're lighting up a ditch instead of the road you're about to be on. Adaptive headlights, on the other hand, are totally dynamic. They pivot with you, they adapt to your speed, they even react to other cars on the road. It's really the difference between using a blunt instrument and a surgical tool.
Okay, but here's where things can get a little confusing. If you're out shopping for a car, you might not actually see the words adaptive headlights on the sticker. Car manufacturers love to use their own marketing terms: cornering lights, directional headlights, articulating headlights, you name it. It's a classic case of branding getting in the way of clarity, but just know that the core technology behind all these names is pretty much the same.
You know, the idea of a headlight that can look around the corner for you isn't actually that new. This tech has a really fascinating history, and it's evolved from some pretty simple mechanical gears all the way to the world of digital pixels.
Believe it or not, this concept goes all the way back to 1948 with the legendary Tucker 48 and its wild central cyclops eye that turned with the steering wheel. Then, in the 60s, Citroën refined the idea with a more elegant mechanical system. But the real game changer came in the early 2000s, when electronics took over, allowing for way faster, way more precise adjustments. And that brings us to today, where we have these incredible digital systems that can control individual pixels of light. All right, so how does this modern marvel of engineering actually pull it off? That brings us to our next section: headlights that think. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts, or I guess the sensors and the processors, of how it all works. It really boils down to the simple but brilliant three-step loop. First, the car has to sense its environment. It's using cameras and sensors to look at your steering angle, your speed, and any other traffic around you. Second, a powerful little computer processes all of that data instantly. And finally, based on that analysis, it tells the headlights exactly how to react, whether that's swiveling into a turn, changing the beam's shape, or even carving out dark spots to avoid blinding other drivers. And here's what that actually looks like on the road. The most obvious function, of course, is swiveling into a curve, but it's so much more than that. The system can make the beam wider for city driving and much longer for highway speeds. But what's really, really cool is this idea of creating tunnels of light. This means your high beams can stay on, but the system intelligently creates a shadow right around an oncoming car, so you get maximum visibility without ever blinding the other driver. It's genius. Okay, so the technology is really cool. We get it. But does it actually make a difference? Is it worth it? Let's look at the bright side and talk about the proven real-world benefits. The key takeaway from all the research is this: these systems help you spot hazards about a third of a second faster. Now, I know a third of a second doesn't sound like a lot, but think about it. At 60 miles an hour, that's almost 30 feet of extra stopping distance. That tiny fraction of a second can absolutely be the difference between a close call and a serious accident. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The insurance data backs this up big time. The Highway Loss Data Institute did a study and found that cars with curve adaptive headlights had a 5.8% reduction in property damage claims. So this isn't just a fancy comfort feature, it's a safety system that demonstrably prevents accidents.
But, no technology is perfect. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. So to get the full picture, we really need to talk about the downsides and maybe why this tech isn't on every single car just yet. So what's the catch, right? If this stuff is so great, why doesn't every car have headlights that can see around corners and protect other drivers? Well, like with most cutting-edge tech, it really comes down to a few key challenges. First up, and no surprise here, is cost. This is still a premium feature, and if one of these units breaks, the repair bill can be pretty steep. Then there's the complexity. These systems are intricate, with all sorts of motors and sensors that need to be calibrated perfectly. Even a minor fender bender can throw them out of whack. And finally, there can be performance and reliability issues. Sometimes they're a little less effective in really busy city traffic, and like any sensor, they can malfunction or get misaligned over time. But even with those challenges, this technology is definitely here to stay, and it's only getting better. So that begs the question, what's next for our headlights? Where's this all going? Well, first, let's just follow the money. The market for adaptive headlights is projected to more than double in the next decade or so, growing from about $2.5 billion today to over $5 billion by 2035. That kind of massive growth tells you one thing very clearly. This technology is quickly moving from a luxury add-on to a mainstream safety standard. And this is where things get really wild. We're moving from systems that just react to systems that can predict, using AI to anticipate turns before you even make them. We're talking about headlights that could project augmented reality navigation arrows or pedestrian warnings right onto the road in front of you, or even cars that use their lights to communicate with each other. This isn't science fiction, folks. This is genuinely where the technology is heading. Which really leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. As our cars become packed with more and more of these intelligent, semi-autonomous systems, you have to wonder, will your headlights soon be smarter than the driver? It's a fascinating thought, and it says a lot about the future of how we're all going to see the road ahead.